Welcome back. On today's video, I wanted to talk about a couple of Facebook scams that I've seen recently. It seems to be very prevalent on Facebook, and quite frankly, Facebook is not doing much to prevent it, at least not apparently. So let's jump right in. This is a Facebook scam that I saw on someone else's website. It was easier to pull this from their website than tracking down others because for some reason, all of the communications that I have had with scammers on Facebook have disappeared. It seems that Facebook may be wiping them after the fact, or more likely, these scammers are deleting their profile so that Facebook can't track them. So this particular scam is one that's used in a variety of options, but the post you can see here, and by the way, this is from a website called reignofcomputer.com. It looks like they do some good research on different scams and different computer technical issues. So on this particular one, the ad says that they have a bunch of items they're selling, they're leaving the area, and they need to get rid of them. So the person contacted them and said, hey, I'm interested in these posts. And this goes very much like you would expect a Facebook marketplace communication to go. Is it still available? Yes. And they actually are communicating like some of these things have been selling, driving that fear of missing out on the other good deals for whoever the prospective buyer is. And this person says, hey, here's my address. Can I come get them? Can I swing by? And then they're communicating as if they have a life. They're talking about, well, I'm not home until this time. Can I get these items? And then they start talking about, and this is where the red flag comes up, payment in advance. I've had this happen on a couple of trailers I was looking at buying. I was looking at getting a couple of trailers to do yard work and some other work to haul things. And the deal looked reasonably good. It wasn't a phenomenal deal. It was reasonable. And they asked for payment in advance before I'd even had a chance to see the item because they mentioned they're getting so much communication and they need to hold it for the person. Now, while that may seem legit, it's also a red flag because if you need to pay something before ever seeing the item, there's something wrong. So this particular person started talking about, well, can I see them and wanting pictures, and decides to go a little bit further into the whole prospect. Now, as the author of this post says, now understanding that this is probably a scam and they want to see how far it will go. So this is where they start to do some good research. And what they did was they took a look at the Facebook profile of the seller, which is always key. If you start to get any red flags, and even before you get red flags, take a look at the profile. See if this person has an actual profile. Maybe they just uploaded it. If they don't have any friends, any posts, any photos, to me, that's a major red flag that something is going on here. And they start going into this, it looks like a scam. They don't really want to go look at it, even though they're making it seem to the seller that they may be interested in doing it. So they go through and they find out that after they start pushing back a little bit, Facebook's actually not going to do anything. And that's what they found here. They reported it to Facebook. Facebook said, well, we're not going to remove the profile for whatever reason. It doesn't look like Facebook puts a lot of effort into these things. And they wouldn't take it down. So two lessons here on this one is, number one, Facebook does not have your back. And this happens on Craigslist. It happens on any of the platforms where you can buy stuff. The platform is not going to have your back. They're providing what they do as a profit center. They say it's as a service to the community, but it's a profit center. Because they get ad revenue for everyone that's looking at these screens. But that's the first one. The second one is there are red flags that you can watch out for. If there's any request for payment in advance, that is a major red flag. If the seller wants to, or if you're selling something and the buyer wants to send you more money because there's a problem with the payment platform, or if they want to send you money in advance, those are red flags also. I had one recently here where I was selling an e-bike and someone asked me, well, my sister's going to come buy the e-bike and I would like to pay in advance. Is that okay? Well, normally getting money in advance is a good thing, right? But the problem was I don't want to have someone send me money and then not show up, or show up and have there be some issues. So I immediately said, no, let's just wait till the person gets here and they can look at it. At which point they got a little bit more offended and wanted to say, well, you're not going to sell it to me for whatever reason. It may be some made up reason, it may be racial, it may be something else. And at that point you start to see that this person may have ulterior motives. Now, what ulterior motives could they have? Well, there are payment scams where they will say, well, I have to upgrade your Zelle account to a business account, and I have to send you more money, but I'll cover that. That's okay. Just refund me the difference when you get back. Or they may be paying with a payment card that's stolen, and they're trying to then recoup the money at some point later after someone comes and picks up the item. So there's a lot of different scams, and the feedback that you get online, and my general rule of thumb is if it starts to get complicated, I'm done. I'm out. I don't want to deal with that at all. It's just not worth the headache for me. Now, another scam that we all see, and this is extremely common, is cars that are being sold by people who are scammers. And once you reach out and contact them, they'll want an initial deposit up front or whatever it may be. And those are a little bit easier to identify. So, for example, on this particular one, I just went Idaho Falls, Idaho, put in a price range between $500 and $1,500. And on the first line, we've got a scam already because we have a 2012 Honda CR-V for $1,000 with 78,000 miles on it. That looks like it's a great deal, of course. So let's click into it and take a little bit more details. And here's how you can start to identify these. Number one, it's too good to be true. Number two, the trees don't match the area. Idaho Falls really doesn't have a lot of trees, and it's not going to have these deciduous trees most likely. It could be right for the area, but it's a little bit out of place. But here's where the red flag really kicks in, aside from it being too good of a deal. If we come down here and click on the seller's information, if you come into Facebook and you want to see what the other items the seller has for sale, if you just click on the seller's name, you start to see that, well, not only do they have a car for sale in Idaho Falls, Idaho, they have that same car for sale across the country. Now, what I used to do on these is I would come in and I'd flag the seller and I'd report it to Facebook. Unfortunately, every single time I've reported it to Facebook, despite overwhelming evidence that this person is trying to scam someone, Facebook comes back and says, well, we didn't do anything about it because we don't know that it's a scam. So buyer beware in every situation. Make sure that you're checking it out. But in this instance, we can clearly see this is a scam. If I contact this person, they'll be asking for advance money or something along those lines, and they're using this to scam people. Scams are becoming increasingly prevalent across the country. The first example I showed you was out of Singapore. Obviously, this is something where scammers are making money hand over fist on. Even if they get a 1% or a 0.5% return on the scams they put out, it's not hard to generate these. They can do it through automation, and they can still make a lot of money. So make sure when you're on any of these platforms, if you're sending money in any way to someone you don't know, if you're buying things from anyone you don't know, always check things out in person, always verify the details. Stick to platforms if you're going to try to buy online that you know you can trust or that have some sort of a buyer protection. For example, eBay, of course, and Mercari. There's some other platforms that do allow those. Make sure that you're taking care of your own transaction because no one else is going to help you out. I hope this has been helpful. If it has, please do give us a like. If you'd like to see more of this type of content, subscribe down below. And if you know someone who may benefit from this, please consider sharing the video. Thanks for being here. We'll see you on the next one.